that you are doing very well and keeping busy and active and still having fun at home. I would like to do an audiobook series just for you, and I would like to share some of my most favourite children's books with you. And some of those books will be personal childhood favourites of mine, and I will share some of them with you during the series. Now, children's books are my absolute favourite books to read. If I go into a library, I don't go to the adult section, I go straight to the children's section to read and to look at the beautiful covers and the funny stories. And I've always loved children's books, and I'm a big fan of a lot of children's authors, and I try to bring them as well into the classes when I can. And we all know a special week I like to do in September. Let's see if you know the answer to that question regarding a certain author. So I do like to do a lot of work around children's authors, children's books, and me personally, I prefer to read children's books rather than adults' books. I just find them more entertaining. Visually, I love looking at them, and they always generally make me smile or laugh. So, with that being said, each week I am going to deliver you an audiobook for our younger children and one for our older children. The younger children, you will get a new book every week, but the older children, you will probably be having a book over a period of weeks. So maybe I will read 3 chapters every week until we get to the end. I am going to also set you a challenge for the books that we are reading. So look out for that in the videos. What I would love is for you to request some books. So what are your favourite books? What do you like to read? And if you can put your requests in the comments below this video, that would be wonderful, and I can add it to my list of books. You may even want to record your own audiobook. And if you do, and you share it with me, I can add it to the audiobook series. When we look at our audiobook, so when I read the books to you, we're going to work on our voices and changing different character voices, which is something that we have to do in drama and in acting. So not only will we be working on our reading, we will also be working on our acting as well at the same time, because we're going to do some voice work. So I hope that the audiobooks will keep us reading at home, keep it fun, work on actor voice, character voice, different fun voices that we can give the characters, and it'll also give us the opportunity to share favourite books. I will share, and hopefully you will be able to share as well. So with that being said, let's find out what book our younger children and older children will be working on this week starting. So our younger children's first book is going to be Please Mr. Panda, which is by Steve Anthony. Now, before I read this book, I'm going to tell you a little story about how I first came into contact with it. I was working in a primary school and I was teaching a year 3 class, and World Book Day came along, and the assistant head teacher invited Steve Anthony to come into the school. So the whole school dressed up as pandas, and there was a lot of children and adults sitting in the hall dressed as a panda, which was actually lovely to see. Then Steve Anthony read this story to us all, and it was just lovely. It's a really lovely story, and it's a picture book. So when we look at picture books, we see more pictures than we do words. There's less words, so visually to look at, it's really nice. So I'm going to share this with you, but before I share it with you, I want us to think about how we can use our drama skills or our acting skills when we read. So reading is very important, and what I would like us to think about when we read is our voice and how we can use our voice to lift the story off the page. So there may be different characters in the books that you read at home, and I want you to think about different voices that you could make up for those characters. When we do drama classes, we use our voice all the time in drama, and we use it in singing, and we use it to talk and to play different characters, and it's the exact same with reading. So when you are reading a book, you might see the narrator words. Now when there's narrator words, these words are telling the story. So you just use your normal voice, how you naturally talk. But when we see characters, which are the different people in the stories, or animals as this one, we can change our voice. So we could make our people or our characters or our animals have different voices. So you might choose a soft voice for one character. You might choose a loud voice for another character. You might choose a grumpy voice, or you might choose a really happy voice. So I want you to think about that, and I'm going to give you some examples because I'm going to choose some different voices for the animals in this story. So next time you pick up your book, a book at home, which it could be at bedtime, it could be during the day, if there are characters in the book, different characters, maybe you could read aloud and pick some voices, and maybe you could read to somebody so they could listen to the different voices that you have selected. Okay, so let's have a look then at Please Mr. Panda by Steve Anthony. He's got beautiful donuts. And how many donuts have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we even get a little bit of maths as well in our reading. Now inside the book is a message from Steve Anthony, which I will read, and it says, "Hello, making picture books allows you to create all sorts of fun characters. I'd like to introduce you to one of my new picture book characters, Mr. Panda. Mr. Panda is a stickler for good manners. In this, his very first book, Mr. Panda gives away donuts, but not everyone gets one. Can you guess why? I hope you enjoy reading this book and give Mr. Panda a really grumpy voice. And when you finish reading, maybe you'd like to design your own donut by downloading a Please Mr. Panda activity sheet from steveanthony.com. Wishing you lots of donut fun, Steve Anthony." And there is a picture of him. And there's also a tail. And there's also somebody hiding behind the donuts. Here's Mr. Panda. Look at these beautiful pages of all these colourful donuts. Which donut is your favourite? Mine is the pink donuts. And once again there is a tail, and there's somebody hiding behind the donut. Can you see the eye? And there's a foot. I think that's Mr. Panda's foot. Would you like a donut? Give me the pink one. No, you cannot have a donut. I have changed my mind. Would you like a donut? I want the blue one and the yellow one. No, you cannot have a donut. I have changed my mind. Would you like a donut? No, go away. Would you like a donut? I want them all. Then bring me some more. No, you cannot have a donut. I have changed my mind. Would anyone else like a donut? Hello, may I have a donut? Please, Mr. Panda? You can have them all. Thank you very much. I love donuts. Enjoying the donuts. You're welcome. I don't like donuts. Fast asleep after eating all the donuts. And that is the end of Please Mr. Panda. So, do you know why the last animal got to have the donuts? Because they said please. Okay, so here's some other books from the Mr. Panda series. I'll wait, Mr. Panda. Good night, Mr. Panda. Thank you, Mr. Panda. And here's all the animals. So, I really hope you enjoyed that book. Please, Mr. Panda. Now I am going to set you a little challenge, because after Steve Anthony read this book to us, in the school assembly, he then showed us how to draw Mr. Panda. And I am going to show you what he taught all of us. And that will be your little challenge for this week. Next week, I'm going to share with you my all-time favourite childhood book. It's been my favourite since I was really little, and I still read it to this day, and I still buy this book for people because I think it's very special. I wonder if you can guess what book it is. You'll have to wait till next week. So tune in next week to share that book with me. Don't forget to put your requests in the comments if you would like me to read one of your favourite books. And don't forget, you can also send me in your audiobooks. So can you read a book at home? Maybe somebody could record it for you and could record you reading the book, as long as we can see the cover and then we can see the pages inside. And maybe they could send it to me and I could share it on the Audiobooks series. I do want to mention one thing, because normally we don't see the inside of the books on an audiobook, but I want to share the pictures and the words with you so that maybe you can read along, or just to keep you entertained visually while I'm reading it as well. So it's a little adaptation on audiobooks. So I will see you all next week for the next book, and I hope you enjoy the challenge. And I'd love to see the pictures from the challenge as well, if you're able to send me any pictures of what you have done. Okay, bye. Okay, so for the little challenge, all you're going to need is a blank piece of paper, a pencil. I've got my Willy Wonka pencil that my friend bought me. I've got a full set of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory pencils that I use at home or sometimes at the classes. A rubber, you're going to need a rubber in case there's anything we want to rub out, and a sharpener in case you want to sharpen your pencil. And I have got some colourful felt tips for later on. So you might want some felt tips or crayons or colouring pencils, whatever you might have at home. If you don't have anything in terms of colours at home, don't worry, because you can always use your pencil to shade. Okay, so when Steve Anthony did his assembly on Please Mr. Panda, after he read the book, he showed us how to draw Mr. Panda, and he showed us how to do it using shapes, which I thought was really clever because it made it accessible for everybody to do. Now, I love anything that's creative. I love being creative, creativity, everything, but I'm not very good at drawing, and it's such a skill and a gift to be able to draw. But when Steve Anthony showed us this, I thought it was wonderful because everyone should be able to do it, because we are just looking at shapes, we're just drawing shapes. So we're going to draw Mr. Panda, and I want you to look at the top of his head. What shape is that? Semicircle. Like a semicircle, isn't it? At the top. And then it comes down a little bit, and then we have a curved line at the bottom. So it's not completely straight, it's a little curved line. It comes round, and then we go back up to the top. So that's what we're going to do. We want to make Mr. Panda a little bit wide as well, in terms of our width, in terms of how big we make our semicircle at the top. So we're going to do a semicircle coming down, a curved line at the bottom, then back up again. Okay, so let's have a go at that. It doesn't have to be perfect, please don't worry. It doesn't have to be exactly like Steve Anthony's. It's just about having a little bit of fun and trying to recreate Mr. Panda. So we're going to go around with our semicircle. We're going to bring it down maybe to about there, and then we're going to come round with our curved line, so it's not a straight line, it's just a curve, and then we're going to join our straight line at the side to the curve, so it could look something similar to that. I quite possibly haven't made it as long, but the body at the side, but that's okay, it's alright. Right, so let's look at the legs. What would you say? Just get my shadow out of the way. What would you say that the legs are? Like two rectangles, aren't they? Down, across, up, across. So we're going to put two rectangles on the bottom to create Mr. Panda's legs. And they're not massively long rectangles, so we'll just go maybe about that length. Go across. We're going to do a line in the middle. There's one rectangle leg. And then we're going to go on the other side, down and across to create our other rectangle leg. So we've got two rectangled legs. So we've done the body and the head, and we've done the legs using those shapes. So then we've got Mr. Panda's two ears. What shape do you think they are? Circles. Circles. So we're going to do two circles for Mr. Panda's ears. Again, you don't need to go be crazy neat. You just want to put two circles either side for Mr. Panda's ears. Then we're going to do Mr. Panda's eyes. There's lots and lots of circles on Mr. Panda. Now, they're not fully circles. They've got a little bit of an oval shape to them. So maybe we could do some wide oval shapes for Mr. Panda's eyes, for the outside of his eyes. But then what about the inside? What shape do you think they are? They're more like a circle. So we could do one circle, and then inside those circles we have two tiny circles just at the top. So let's have a little go at doing Mr. Panda's eyes. Again, don't worry about it being absolutely perfect, it's just about having a go. So I'm going to do the first eye slightly over here, and I'm going to do an oblong like that. It's fairly wide. And then I'm going to come over here and do the other one, another oblong. Not exactly perfect, but I might make this one a bit bigger. I'm going to use our rubber. It's okay to make mistakes because that's how we learn, that's how we get better at things, by correcting. So once you've done your two oblongs, not oblongs, once you've done your two oval shapes, getting all my shapes mixed up. Once you've done your two oval shapes, we want to do the circle inside. So we're going to do a circle, and we're going to do a circle. And then inside those two circles, we're going to do a tiny circle at the top. So it should look something like that. I'll just bring mine up a little bit so you can see. now we're going to move on to the nose. What shape do you think that nose is? It looks like a rectangle, doesn't it? Another rectangle. The lines aren't particularly straight, so maybe we could do some curves. Maybe we could do a curve line at the top, straight, a curve line at the bottom, straight. So it looks very similar to a rectangle. Then we've got a line that comes down and a line that goes across. So let's try that. And we're putting it in the middle of the eyes, on level with the two inside circles. So we're going to do a dip line, straight line, a curve line, and a straight line. And then we want to do a straight line coming down and a straight line going across. So it should look something like that. Okay, now we're going to do Mr. Panda's right arm. What shape do you think it looks like? It looks a bit like a rectangle, doesn't it? Straight, but then it has a curve at the top. Straight. Straight. It's like a straight line, well, a slight curve, but it's okay if you want to draw that as a straight line. It doesn't have to be exact. But a straight line and then a semicircle, bringing it back to a straight line. So let's have a little go at that then. And we want to put the arm just about there, just kind of below the eyes. So here's our eyes, just a little bit below our eye, coming to the side, and we're going to do a straight line. I'd say your arm needs to stop in the middle where the nose is. So where your nose is, I would stop so it's on the same level. And then you're going to do your semicircle, fairly big semicircle, and then you're bringing your straight line back to create Mr. Panda's arm. Something similar to that. Good, we're getting quite far. We've not got a lot left now. So the next bit is going to be the donut box, which I hope you can see. Beautiful colours inside. But what shape is the donut box? It's a rectangle, isn't it? So we've got a rectangle, and then we've just got lines, a line, a line, a line, and a line, making it nice and easy peasy. So we're going to start with the top part of the box. So we're just going to draw a rectangle. And Mr. Panda is holding his donuts, just like he was in the story. So let's go here and draw a straight line. We need to leave room at the top. So I would draw my straight line to about there. So we're still inside Mr. Panda's head and body area. We're going straight line, and then we're going to go across like we would with our rectangle shape. And then we're going to come back about here, and then we're going to go across so that we're back with the arm. I'm going to come out of shot so you can see that, so my shadow's not covering. And then we just want to put our lines in. So we want to put a straight line, a straight line, and then we just join that up. We join that up, and you'll notice I'm not using a ruler, because we don't need to be overtly perfect, you know. We're just trying to have a little bit of fun with Mr. Panda. Now, that is our box. Do we see that? So we did our rectangle at the top. We then drew a line. We then drew a line. We then join them two lines up with a line at the bottom and then another line coming back to the hand. Okay. Then, what is this peeking out near the box? It's Mr. Panda's left arm. So we need to put that in. I'm going to put it in just here. Just here. And what shape? Sorry, I didn't even show you what shape it was. What shape is it? Would you say? It's like another rectangle with curves on the end, isn't it? So let's try and draw that then. So we're going to do a right underneath. It's quite oval as well, like it's like a long oval shape just underneath. There. Good. Now we want to draw inside our donut box. We want to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 donuts. What shape are the donuts? Do you remember before when I was saying that we have lots and lots of circles and rectangles to create Mr. Panda? So these are big circles and we want to draw our circles next to each other. So all the donuts are sitting next to each other and some of them have holes inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have holes inside. So we're going to draw 8 circles, 8 big circles in our box, keeping them together. Again, don't worry about being overtly neat. There's 8 donuts, and then I'm going to put a hole in that one, and a hole in that one, a hole in that one, a hole in that one, and a hole in that one. And they've got patterns on. So some donuts have got patterns on as well. So this one has got some swirly lines. So all you've got to do is just do some swirly lines. Like a worm. Try and think like a worm. Then this one, like a maze, it's just like a line that just goes round and round and round and round so it gets really small. And then we've got some, this one looks like a flower design. I'll make sure I put a picture of Mr. Panda with this video somehow so you can have an up close. I'll probably put a link in the description so you can have a look at Mr. Panda a bit closer at home if you want. This one's got loads of glitter, which is really nice. This one's just got little circles, oval shapes. Now what I think you should do is you should create the patterns of your donuts. They don't have to be like Mr. Panda's donuts, they can be like whatever design you want. So you could use your imagination to come up with some different shapes, different swirls, different patterns that you want to put onto your donuts. Now, we've got one thing missing. Can you see what it is? That's missing from Mr. Panda. Nearly called him Mr. Donut then. What is missing from Mr. Panda? His donut hat. What is the shape of the donut hat? It is a rectangle. And we're going to write donuts on the front of the hat. So at the top of Mr. Panda, at the top of your Mr. Panda, you're going to do a rectangle. Then inside you're going to write donuts, which is D, O, O, G, H, N, O, T, S. Donuts. donuts, and it doesn't have to be perfect. We want to keep practicing our nice neat writing, but it doesn't have to be perfect exactly like Steve Anthony's. But there is Mr. Panda, and we did all of that by just using shapes. A shape, a shape, a shape, shapes, 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 shape, 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 shape. So that is Mr. Panda. If you have got this far, big well done. Now we're going to look at colouring it in. Now what colour is Mr. Panda? Mr. Panda is black and white, isn't it? And if you notice, all the animals in the book, so here's Penguin, black and white, but he's got a little yellow beak. And the skunk is black and white. And the bird. And the whale. They're all. I think this is a lemur, black and white. There is some beautiful colours that we can use as well. So we're going to take our, if you have a black felt tip or a black crayon, anything. If you don't worry, just use your pencil and you can shade. And then I'm not going to colour this in completely because it might take me way too long, and I'm sure you want to stop watching my video and get colouring. So you can then just colour in. Mr. Panda in all the parts that you need to. So his arm, I love colouring in, it's so therapeutic and relaxing, and I know all the children love colouring in. And on our online class video, I was showing all the beautiful pictures I've been given over the years by children and their beautiful drawing and colouring in. Now, that isn't the neatest colouring in the world, but I'm just trying to show you what you need to colour in. In fact, what I will do is I will stop the video, I will fully colour in my Mr. Panda, and I will show you what mine looks like at the end. So I will continue with that in a second. But what I want to say is, your donuts don't have to be like Mr. Panda's donuts. So think of some different ways that you could design your donuts and what colours you might want to use. You might even want to put some different tissue paper on, or some glitter on some of them. He has no pink donuts in his box, so I will definitely be making sure one of mine is pink. And then you just want to make sure that you colour in all the bits that you need to. And you might want to go over your writing at the top to make that a bit stronger. And then you've got Mr. Panda all sorted. So at the bottom of my picture, I'm going to write Mr. Panda. Hopefully you can see that. Mr. Panda. So I would love to see some of your Mr. Pandas. Maybe you could ask somebody at home to send me in a picture of your Mr. Panda. I'd love to see the designs you come up with for your donuts. And don't forget that when you do your reading next, to think about some different character voices that you could use for your characters, and your narrator voice can just be your normal voice. So try and think of some different voices that you could possibly use. Next week, for our younger children, I am going to share with you my all-time favourite childhood book. I wonder if you can guess what it is. So I'm going to show that to you next week and read it with you next week, and I will also set you a challenge for that book. I'll try and set you a challenge for every book that we read together on this audiobook series. So tune in next week if you would like to find out what my all-time favourite childhood book is, or children's book. I still buy this book now for people because I love it so much. So tune in next week to find out. I'm going to go and finish off my Mr. Panda, and I will make sure that I put it at the end of this video so you can see what donut choices I came up with. I really hope you've enjoyed this little challenge, and I will see you next week for the next book and challenge. Bye! Bye from Mr. Panda.